there's a subject that I believe needs touched on because it's becoming increasingly more relevant as time goes on. And the reason is because more and more spontaneous awakenings are happening. People who aren't devout, people who don't even believe in spirituality are getting awakened. And it can be a very rough process. I was one of these people. I didn't really believe in all that, although I had one experience whenever I was younger where I actually saw a demon. But that's a whole different thing. This is a video on the dark night of the soul. I have some notes I had taken because it's a very complicated, intricate subject. So you're gonna see me look at this throughout the video. I'm just trying to cohesively put this into an order in which I think would make sense. My first point on here is to seek center. Now, this is going to be a very rough process. If you're in the dark night of the soul, this can be a very, very rough process because it's going to bring back trauma for you to deal with. It's going to bring back memories that were previously repressed. You're going to want to run away. You're going to want to not deal with it anymore, but that's not an option. Once this is open, there is no going back. There is no turning it off. I realized this at one point, and I had considered suicide. I considered a mental hospital. But, actually, I'll get into that later. So seek center, don't cling to your emotions. The emotions are emotion, energy in motion. Emotion is just energy fluctuating within you. That is not who you are. It's just energy that's flowing through you. It's not, just think this too shall pass. Now on that point, it can bring up a lot of strong emotions, something you deem negative. The dark night of the soul is a purification process. You are purifying yourself to an extent. You're releasing the past programs and trauma from your life permanently. You're not going to hold on to this anymore. You're not going to be held back. You're not going to live in fear and sadness as much. Find practices that help you. Me, meditation. Other people might be prayer, which is a form of meditation. There's yoga, etc. Now, your friends might your vibration is rising. So your friends might start to not understand you. They might say you're crazy. They might say you've lost it. It can help. You may start to seek people that think more alike. People that give you comfort. Or at least people who support you. Everyone's on the same journey. We're just in different places at different times. And that's okay. We all have our own individual journey, and that's okay. But what's important is you seek people who are supportive of you. Back in 2017, I had talked to a friend that helped me realize and recognize what was going on. And if it wasn't for her, I probably would have put myself in a mental hospital. I was suicidal. My reality, I didn't know what was what. I didn't know what was up, what was down. Everything I thought was down was up. Everything I thought was back was forward. nothing made sense. It can be a very dark time. During this time, I suggest, and this is something I had trouble with too, I suggest being sober, like not even smoking, because you're going to want a clear mind. You're going to want a clear mind so you can focus and hone in on what is causing this. Tap into those emotions and release it. Release can come in a lot of ways. Crying is probably the most common. I cry a lot, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's very normal. If you don't cry, you're the fucked up one. Krishnamurti once said, I think this was either in the 50s or like 100 years ago, it is no measure of a healthy mind to be so well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And I believe this is true. I believe that especially nowadays, the world's sick. Like the entertainment industry, half of those people are fucking pedophiles. Half of those people are just terrible, terrible people. Like the sex trafficking rings, a lot of that's in the entertainment industry. So, my next point is your vibration is rising. And that kind of ties back on what I was saying a few minutes ago. You're going to have to work through the trauma and release it. Even if it's just feeling the sadness. Just feeling. Allowing yourself to feel that depression, that sadness. You're working through it. It may not seem like it. But you are working through it. And you're releasing it. It sucks. It's not a fun process. But alchemy states to gain something of equivalent value must be lost. If you want to gain peace of mind, happiness, you have to release that depression. You have to release that trauma, that negative energy. Because you see, that stays stored in our cells as cellular memory. We have the physical body, we have the energy body, and we have the emotional body. Whenever there's a blockage in the energy body, it can manifest in the physical body as a chemical imbalance, depression, bipolar, all sorts of things. Now, schizophrenia, I think that's just a term that people use to make you feel like you're crazy when you're not. I was told I'm schizophrenic, but I just understand the world reality more so than a lot of people, most people, especially Westerners. We've been blinded to the truth. We've been lied to. We've been deceived. And conspiracy theories, they call you conspiracy theorists if it's a bad thing. No, you understand. You know more. And they're afraid of you. They're afraid of us. They don't want us to know. They want us to stay in the dark. They want us to be blind. So, this moves on to I'm just going to move on to my next point. Your vibration is raising, and it can cause you to lose interest in your old friends. They want to talk about sports. You want to talk about the fifth dimension. They want to talk about the Kardashians. You just want to know what life is about. The intricacies, the complexities of life. The subjects that they talk about, you may not even be interested in anymore. And that's not necessarily bad. It's just you're vibrating at a higher level, and you're more awakened. You're more aware. And again, that's not necessarily it's not necessarily a bad thing. They're just at a different point in their journey, and that's totally fine. We shouldn't be judging those who are less awake, because we were created as equals. We were all created as equals. So, the Dark Knight, I see it as an ego death in a sense. You can be wondering, who am I? Because when part of that ego dies, it can leave you wondering, well, I thought I was, as an example, I thought I was put here to be a doctor. But something happens and you realize you weren't here to be a doctor. I wanted to be a therapist. Actually, no. First, I wanted to be a vet. However, I'm allergic to anything with fur. And we have some cats here, so you can see what this is doing to me. Just a couple cats. A vet? Hell no. That wouldn't work. Then I wanted to be a therapist. I was really upset that I couldn't be a vet. I was about 8 at the time. So, let's see. I think I was about 15 or 16 whenever I thought, hey, I want to help people. I want to be a therapist. Joke was on me because I didn't want to do the schooling. I even took Psychology 101 and AP Psychology in high school. They were really fun. It was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed learning about psychology. It's fascinating, actually. Yeah, and so this can lead you to, I'm actually a musician. I'm a producer and rapper now. And I believe that's what I was put here to do, because I'm starting to understand my life purpose. And let's be honest, performing is so much fun. It's enjoyable. Now I want to use music as the medium for sending a message. So you can have some existential, who am I, what am I meant here, what am I meant to do here on earth type of questions. And honestly, you just have to ask. Ask and you shall receive. You just have to ask. Ask for a sign. I was at a Chinese restaurant one day. I think 2 years after, maybe even in just a year, 1 or 2 years after I had started writing music. And I was debating quitting. I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. I felt hopeless. I felt defeated. I felt utterly terrible about myself. So, you can imagine my surprise when I open up my fortune cookie and it says, now is a time to set your sights high and shoot for the stars. Or I might have said, now is a time to set your sights high and go for it. Either way, it was very motivational. It was could have been a coincidence. There's no way in hell that was a coincidence. I've never gotten 2 fortune cookies that are the same, and I used to work somewhere where I would go to a Chinese place and get egg drop soup. Egg drop soup at least 3 times a week. And I wouldn't get the same fortune cookie ever. So this brings me to my next point. Actually, it doesn't. I'm just gonna go on to the next point. Strong release due to identifying with the ego, the sense of self. Now, the ego, I believe that the ego is very misunderstood. A lot of people don't understand clearly what the ego is. The ego is a being conceited. The ego isn't being narcissistic. Yes, that has something to do with it, but it's not the full thing. Ego is sense of self, what you see yourself to be. I see myself to be a musician, a producer, a rapper. So my ego is attached to that as my identity, my sense of self. And that just eventually, self-realization / enlightenment, I believe, is just a process of shedding all that does not serve you. Everything that no longer pertains to your life or has any relevance to you. I have a couple sub-points. Whenever you start to awaken, synchronicity may start to happen. You're going to see 1111, 222, 333, so on. For me, 1111 was a big one. And then it started from 1111 and went to 333 to 222 to 666. And 6 is not demonic. 6 is the number of the beast, but it's also the number of man. Why? We are carbon-based. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 666. That's all it is. You may start to manifest faster. Now, okay, and during this dark night, you may realize that you are an infinite, multi-dimensional being. You're not a human. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. Your intuition may increase. That little gut feeling, don't ignore it. It won't steer you wrong. However, you will need the spirit of discernment, because sometimes it's your intuition, sometimes it's just the ego. You need to realize what's what. Otherwise, that could get you into some trouble. You need to surrender. This is not something that you will get through by fighting it. The only way out is through. Trust me, I've been through this process a couple of different times, and it's not easy. However, the liberation from myself, the liberation from the ego, the liberation from the pain from the past, liberation from the trauma. It's I can't even begin to tell you. I believe it's all worth it. I've been through some bad stuff lately. I've been through hell. But just know, you signed up for this. Before you were born, your soul agreed to this. So don't give up. This is not a time to give up. This is a time to push forward. Bring out that inner strength. Bring out that gusto. Bring out everything you have, because you will make it through. And you'll be a much stronger person for it. This brings me to my next point. Everything is a balance. Think yin and yang. Think. See the shadow of my hand? The only reason that darkness exists is because the light exists. The only reason that this dark exists is because the light exists. It's all balance. It's all yin and yang. It's all two sides of the same coin. Men, women, up, down, left, right, east, west, north, south. Life is dualistic. There's, well, from our from our point of view, from a human's point of view, life is dualistic. There's good, bad, light, darkness, white, black, it, red, blue. It all pertains to each other. This brings me to my next point. We are all part of Source. Christians call it God, Yahweh. Muslims call it Allah. It's all the same thing. We're all part of Source. We're all part of the one energy that is everything. And the dark night is that ego being threatened, because that ego wants to believe that it exists. Part of the dark night is shedding that ego, destroying it, transmuting it. And it doesn't like that. That's why it can cause a lot of strong feelings. That's why it can cause a lot of inner turmoil. So that brings me to my next point. You are not your depression. Like I said earlier, that emotion is just energy in motion. You just have to realize, you have to recognize it. You have to see through it, recognize it for what it is, so that you can ride out the storm. Like I was saying, seek center. Just understand that you are okay. You're not going to die. You may feel like you're dying. You may feel like you want to die, but that's not you. It's not your soul. That is your ego. So don't give it that satisfaction. Whenever I read the Bible, I see it in terms of God as our spirit and Satan as the ego. Because the Bible says Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. The ego is the most self-sabotaging thing about us. The monks even have a saying, master the mind, master the enemy. And this is another thing that makes me believe that Satan is to be interpreted as ego. Because our 3D minds can't possibly comprehend the complexities of all the dimensions. So comment down below about what you want. If you want me to elaborate on this, there are, from what I understand currently, there are 4 dark nights and 3 awakenings. If you want me to elaborate on them, I can. Leave me a comment below. Just stay strong. You're not alone. I know it may feel like it, but you're not alone. Hope you have a good day.